And when we come back, the benefits and drawbacks of daycare. Welcome back to NTV News First Edition. As we heard a little bit earlier in our program, government today announced designated daycare positions for children of healthcare workers. We know that daycare assists families in returning to work, but what are the impacts of daycare on the children themselves? Well, here to discuss that is Dr. Janine Hubbard with this week's Get Psyched. It's great to see you again.
Well, as always.
So before we start, I mean, you're a healthcare professional. This must be pretty good news.
Well, it is really exciting in that it's going to help out people who are in need of that flexibility and that versatility in terms of schedules. So I'm hoping it is going to help with the ongoing recruitment and retention issues that we've had for healthcare workers in this province. Absolutely.
So let's get into daycare itself. So are there potential benefits to children who attend a regulated daycare program?
Again, not every child is going to receive the same degree of benefit, but as someone who works with a lot of high-risk preschool kids, it's actually something that I'm frequently recommending or trying to figure out ways to assist families to have their children enroll in daycare for the developmental benefits that can come along with it. Because for many kids, it's the first time they're having to perhaps follow instructions or rules from someone other than a primary caretaker. And that can take a big adjustment. It can be of enormous benefit in terms of developing things like communication skills, behavioral and emotional self-regulation, having to learn how to cooperate, to take turns, to not always be the first one to get, the toy of choice.
To
share, for sure. There's a lot of social modeling that goes on. So especially kids who are perhaps only children and not necessarily exposed to a lot of same-age peers. Even things like the number of kids that I have who are super picky eaters at home, and then at daycare they eat everything that's offered to them, particularly when they see the other kids enjoying it. That can provide some huge benefit. And one of the things that I really rely on as a developmental psychologist is the workers in the daycare either being able to reassure parents and say, no, you know what's happening at the moment, that's totally developmentally normal, don't you worry about it, it's a phase, they'll get through it, or conversely being able to raise those red flags to parents and say, actually, I've got some concerns. Your child's emotional self-regulation, their ability to self-soothe, their ability to deal with frustration, it's actually not quite at the same level as their peers, or their communication skills, language skills, so that can then help facilitate some really important referrals to, the world of developmental pediatrics.
These are great things. I guess, I know when my daughter entered kindergarten, I spoke with a kindergarten teacher, and she said you can really tell the children who had already been in a daycare setting and children who were not. Yeah. They can see just how they interact with each other, or, as you said, follow direction. All positive things, but are there any drawbacks?
Well, certainly. I mean, and again, different kids will benefit. The structure and the routine. I remember I had one family where the kid was just used to eating whenever they were randomly hungry, and in kindergarten, you can't do that. But certainly for some, maybe it's not as much time being able to spend with younger siblings or with extended family, perhaps nans and pops who are providing some of that daycare support. So you might not have as much of those interactions, might be not quite as much time with other family. There's mixed information in terms of the exposure to all the germs and the bugs and the flus that seem to come along with daycare. And certainly we know that children from more, say, disadvantaged or, again, developmentally at-risk families are going to have way more benefits, so that there may be other children who have enough socialization, who have enough enrichment enrichment in their home life, that they do okay, and that adjustment to kindergarten is just fine for them. So really, like most things, it comes down to what is going to best meet the needs for each individual family. But certainly the research is out there. If it's something that's available and is low cost, there are a lot of benefits that it can provide to the child.
Dr. Janine Hubbard, thank you so much for coming in. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, Tony.